let's move on to the next one. It is about Pitora painting. Pitora painting is been practiced by Ratwa, which is an Adivasi community of Gujarat. So for them, it is not a painting, it is more like a ritual. So whenever I'm facing any problem or when I want a boon from God, what I do is I perform a ritual. Gardani. Gardani is nothing but a house owner. They mention it as Gardani. So what he do is he will be going to the chief priest of the community. The chief priest is called as Badwa. So he goes to Badwa and explain his problem or what is his wish and what is the prayer he wanted to be answered. So based on his request, Badwa will be suggesting some rituals to the Gardani, and he should uh, promise to the god to complete the vow once he gained the boon from the god. The vow is to paint their house with Pitora painting. It's as simple as that. So there is a dedicated person for doing this painting. His name is Lakara. Lakara is the person who paints Pitora, and there are close to 100 plus 150 plus motifs in Pitora. He have a good knowledge about it. So once the Gardani meets Badwa and he gives a promise to paint, and after some days or months, if he feels like, okay, my prayer is answered, or I'm coming out of the problem, so then he goes and meets Lakara. So Lakara will then understand what is his problem, what are the promises which he have given. Based on that, he chooses certain motifs to be painted in the wall. So how does it start? They will be layering the wall with white clay. Usually, this white clay should be brought from by the unmarried girl of the family. So there is a separate ritual behind that. And then once it is tempered, they start coloring with the natural colors. So now let's have a look at the pictures of some of the motifs which they use. So moving on to the next slide, we could see some three motifs over here. The first one on the top left is Baba Ganesh, whom we call as Lord Ganesha. So here he is in human form with a hookah in his hand. They consider him as a fatherly figure, and for any ritual for that matters, he will be the first god to be worshipped. So they have an interesting story like Baba In, who's the second in the picture. Once he went to meet all the gods in his court. So suddenly his chariot stopped in between. He could not go to the place where he's trying to. He tried by all means, but the chariot could not be moved at all. So at that time, other gods suggested that you should go and meet Baba Gane, and he should be the reason behind that. So then he went and apologized to Baba Gane, and he invited him also to the court. So from then on, it has become a practice for the people to invite Baba Gane first before they start any kind of ritual for that matters. So he is human in human form here. So next one on the right is Baba In, who is none other than Lord Indra. He is believed to be the Lord of Rain, and he is a protector of animals as per this community. Um, he is also the maternal uncle of Baba Pitora. Baba Pitora is the primary god of this particular community. You will be seeing him later. So Baba in here, he is depicted as a young, brave man with a parrot in his hand. So the next motive, a lady with a comb in her hand. She is the Kuladevi of this particular tribe. She is Rani Kajal. She is a foster mother of Baba Pitora, their primary god. So the comb in her hand symbolizes she have the ability to cleanse the world. Okay, so she is always painted on the left side of the wall. She is a motherly figure to all the people there. She is considered as a Kuladevi, and they also have a temple for her in the mountain. So moving on to the next slide, let's see about Baba Pithora and Pithora Rani. So he is the primary god, as I said, and these people believe he is a conglomeration of different gods. He's a, every part of different god, nature, entire universe is there with him. His picture is very much similar to that of Baba, okay, except that he is carrying a sword, as you could see. He also carries a parrot in his hands. So when he was young, he chose wall as his seat. He went and sat inside the wall, and he chose wall as his seat. So from then on, these people started painting Pitora in their walls. So that is the reason behind this particular painting being done by these people. So next one is Pitora Rani. She is carrying a fan in her hand. Okay, so she is worshipped during erratic monsoons. When the monsoon is not favorable, they worship her, and she is considered as a celestial icon by these people. Okay, so moving on to the next slide, let's see about Abokunbi and Matari and Lakari and Jokari. So this Abokunbi and Matari on the left side, they are the one who introduced the art of farming to the human race. Okay, they taught these people right from sowing seeds, and the complete process of farming is taught to these people by Abokunbi and Matari. So they are considered as a god of farming. Whenever there is some issues with their agricultural produces or something, they will be drawing this motif in the walls. Next is Lakari and Jokari. They are considered as the authors of the future. If a kid is born, if a child is born, on fifth or sixth day, they perform a ritual. So they believe on this particular day, Lakari and Jokari will come to their house and they will write the future of their kid. So any wishes which you wanted to grant for this particular kid will come true in later part of their life if it is done on fifth or sixth day. That is their belief. It is this Lakari and Jokari who went to Baba Pitora's house when he was a newborn, and they wrote his future in the wall. So it because they knew like Baba Pitarwa is going to choose wall as his seat, and so they wrote his future in the wall. So that is the significance of these two pictures. So let's move on to the next slide. It is about the Mama Karodio and the 5 horses of the ancestors. Mama Karodio is also a maternal uncle of Baba Pitora. So once when Pitora wanted to meet Baba Indra in heaven, he doesn't know how to go there. So it was Mama Karodio who helped him to reach the heaven by climbing his web. So that is the significance behind this particular motif. And the 5 horses of ancestor, these horses are the symbol of the ancestor for these people. They make some wooden horses and place it in front of their farm or houses, and they believe they get the blessings from their ancestors in this way. um, so whenever any important functions or rituals should be performed, the first thing they do is get the blessings from their ancestors. Yearly once they do certain ritual for their ancestors, followed by a village feast, and they celebrate it in a very grand manner. So that is the significance behind these two motifs. So moving on to the next slide, here you can see a complete picture which is done on a wall. There are many motifs in this. So, as I said, there is a dedicated person for this who will be choosing the motifs based on the problem which you are going through, based on the prayers which you have asked for. So, there are other common motifs like sun, moon, lion, deer, tiger, etc. So, it's just all based on the problems or the wishes which you have asked. So, this is about Pitora painting. So next, let's move on to Kavad. Moving on to the next slide, we have about Kavad art. Kavad is a mobile temple of Rajasthan. It is a 700-year-old tradition being followed by the people. People even follow this today, but they have adjusted to the modern requirements as well. So as you can see in this picture, there are many wooden doors hinged together. So the complete story will be drawn. So traditionally, this kavad will have 10 doors. They have certain measurements for this, and it will be having 10 doors. So there is a separate storyteller. He will be telling the story, opening up every door, and at last you can see the idol of the god or goddesses based on which this entire theme was painted on. So let's see some more details in the next slide. It is about the people who are involved in this, and what is the process which they follow. It is a portable wooden temple or shrine. That is what they call it. It is like rather than devotee going to the temple and praying God. Uh, the god itself, the deity itself, comes to the devotee's house. It is depicted in such a way. It is made of neem wood. There is a person called Sutar, carpenter, and he is a painter as well. So he is the one who processes the wood, follows certain rituals, and paints as per the requirements of the judgments. Judgments are their patrons, their local aristocrats or the noble gentry. So judgments will be commissioning the Kavadia Butts, the storyteller, to make a story which they wanted to. They will be mentioning their specifications to the storyteller. So the storyteller, in turn, he goes to the sutar, the carpenter. He explains what all needs, what should be the size, what are the motives that should be present in that particular art. It is discussed and it is done. So, one interesting information about the storytellers, this Kavadia Bhatt, is that suppose if I'm a judge, ma'am, I cannot move out for any pilgrimage or something, but I'm longing for a pilgrimage. Like what I do is I call a storyteller, I commission him, and I even choose the medium. Like I wanted to travel in an elephant or a camel or horse, and I wanted to visit these places. When I explain my requirements, he in turn takes it back to the sutar. They sit together, form a story, and make a kavad. Wooden art, bring it back to the judgment, and they explain it in such a way that I feel as if I have gone to the pilgrimage only. So the complete story will be depicted uh, very beautifully by this storytellers, and these storytellers were also used as traditional genealogists. Today we don't even know the name of the ancestors for hardly we know up to 2 or 3 generations, not more than that. But these people, they cleverly maintain their record in such a unique way 700 years back. So this Kavadia Butts, what they do is some judgments they will be having a separate storyteller for their generation only. Okay, so these storytellers will know completely about this particular generation. They will be painting it as a kavad art, and it is given to the judgments then and there. So they have a complete picture about their ancestral history in the form of art in their houses. So these are the importance and significance behind this art. Now let's move on to the next slide. This is about put painting. This is also an art form which is followed in Rajasthan. So Pad means a scroll where the complete sequences will be drawn. It's just not about 1 or 2 incidences. Right from the birth till the death of their local heroes, or even they draw about the local deities. Mostly they follow Devnarayanji or Pabuji. Pabuji is their local hero. Okay, so they will be drawing all the important sequences in the scroll. This is somewhere 15 feet or even 30 feet long. It is very big, and traditional. They have a procedure to make this painting and all. There is a dedicated clan for making this painting as well, which we can see in the next slide. So there we have some information about the people who are involved in this. Okay, so this is performed. The performance is done by Bopa and Bopi. Bopa is none other than the priest who will be performing this art. Okay, so Bopi is wife of Bopa. What they do is once the pud is ready, once the scroll is ready, they will be taking it to the different villages. And once the sun sets, they will be opening up the scroll, gather before the people, and they start telling the story. Okay, so it starts like this. The Bopi will be carrying a lamp behind every sequence so that it is visible for the audience very clearly, and then they will be start narrating the story. So it is an art of storytelling plus music plus art put together. So first, they use an instrument called Ravanata. Ravanata is nothing but a two-string instrument, maybe an ancestor of violin. So they use this Ravanata for storytelling in part. So it was first commissioned by a person called Chochu Bhatt. He is a devotee of Lord Devanarayana, and he was also a mentor of Lord Devanarayana's clan. He is the first one to come up with this kind of painting. He commissioned a particular clan called Joshi. So Joshis were earlier, they were into astrology and calendar predictions. So he sought the help of these people, and they started this fat painting practices from there on. So how do they do it? They use only hand woven cloth or the khadi cloth for making this. First, they will be soaking it in water so that the thread becomes thicker enough for to hold the paint, and then they will be soaking it in rice or wheat starch. It will be soaked and then it is dried completely. So once it is dried, they will be rubbing it with moonstone to smoothen the surface. So once it is smoothened, then the first stroke of the painting will be done on an auspicious day. The first stroke uh, should be done only by the girl, the unmarried girl of the family. But they don't teach this art to the girl believing that she will be moving out of the family, but they do teach this to the daughter in law of the family. So, this is the tradition involved uh, in making this painting. So, painting, as I said, it is done by the Joshi family. They will be drawing different characters, and the size of the character depends upon the noble status or the importance of that particular character in that story. So at last, they will be drawing the main deity at the center, and once the pupil of the eye is opened, it means it is no longer an art; it is a temple, and they hand it over to the priest. So the priest, as I said, will be carrying it over to the different villages, and they perform this. So since it is a cloth, it is quite natural to wear and tear after many uses. So once it has come to a stage where it can no longer be used, again there is a separate ritual for this, and they do it and they properly dip it in any of the holy river, and they make a new one. So now let's look at the unique features about this particular art. As you can see in this pic, the one on the left is a very traditional one. It will not be a very clear picture, but just to show how traditional it was, I took this picture. The one on the right is very clear. Only the face features will be given more importance. They do not give much importance to hands, fingers, legs, dresses, nothing. More importance will be given to the jewelry and the face features part. So the common vehicles which they use or which they draw is a horse, elephant, and camel. So these three are the ones which they use. And these characters in putt painting, they will be always facing towards the side. Like one character will be facing the other. So they never face the audience. It is not drawn in such a way. They never face the audience's side. Only the side faces will be painted in putt painting. So today, in current situation, they could not make such a big scrolls. So they are using small scrolls, or even it has come up to canvases also. They make a very small picture of a raja riding in a horse, or a rani going in an elephant ambari or something like that. They have made it in a very simplified form these days. So this is all about the different paintings which I have discussed so far. So at present, there are hardly 10 to 15 artisans in each of this painting category. If you take, there are 10 to 15 artisans who do it as full time. So many are learning it as part time, or sometimes they even just learn it as a hobby and leave it. So the main idea behind this particular session is to just learn these art. Let our generation understand this. Let our future generation also get to know what all the traditions. It is very easy to find out their day-to-day life activities, how they were living, how simplified was their uh, living or occupation was. We can get to know about it, and once it becomes popular, I'm sure the effort of these artisans also it will be more fruitful, because they are not doing it for livelihood. They somehow wanted to pass on this tradition to the next generation. So let their wishes come true, and I think this will be the greatest gratitude for those people who are still hanging on to to these tradition, believing that the future generation will take it up further. So that is the end of the session. So if you have any questions, you can come up with the questions in the comment section. I can answer it.
Yeah, actually, that was an amazing presentation. In fact, I think there's so many information that we have learned today. I think a lot of history and a very interesting culture about our own continent and the rituals, what they do, the meaning behind it. I was really inspired by the family tree. I think many people don't know their generations. Hardly they know till the grandfather, grandmother, or maybe their grandfather, grandmother, and they have no idea what is there in their history. So actually, that information is very important for their genetical related disease or lifestyle or what is the family lineage and other things. So that was quite intriguing to me to learn. So I think there are. I think most things. I think most of the parents are like they're overwhelmed with the presentation. I think all have been appreciating and asking questions. But couple of things I wanted to ask is how do you get started in the house? Now, I think there's a beautiful time for us to get started. So can you give us some small exercise or some pointers how small kids can be motivated into getting
Okay, so for kids, you can start off with Warli because it is quite easy to start off. So it's just some geometric patterns like triangles and circles put together. So slowly they can want to Saura, which is also quite similar. It is easy to start with Warli, Saura, and Kurumba. It is all about just stick figures. So stick figures are easier for the kids to learn and draw. So I think they can start off with that. So yeah.
So, how do you compare this with the mandala? Like now, it's become a fashion and trend, right? People have a lot of mandalas and they paint it. They feel it is de-stressing for them. How do you correlate mandalas with Varli or the ancient traditional art?
Okay, mandala. See, I have an opinion like mandala is not just another art form. It has got a lot of spiritual meaning behind it. So once I got to know some facts about mandala, people say like certain structures or certain shapes to be drawn on this particular day to get this particular effect. So there is a different meaning for that. So I thought maybe handling it from a spiritual part of view will be better as far as mandala is concerned. If someone is considering mandala is just another art form with some basic figures or geometric structures, then they can definitely go ahead. But for me, it has got lots of spiritual connection behind it, so I do not want to touch it. Yeah.
Um, that's interesting. So what do you see the spirituality part in the traditional arts? Like what you've shared, multiple form of arts. So do you see the spiritual connection there?
Spiritual connection, yes, I could say. Like for most of these tribals, they are bringing out about their ancestors. We could learn how they were worshipping their ancestors, how they were giving importance to their local deities. So all these details can be easily brought out from these art forms, because once we got to know about the rituals which they do, what is the reason behind each and every tradition which they follow, it is quite easier to know, because every art form they have a different articles. Like for every motive there is a reason. For every motive, uh, they follow certain rituals. As I said, in Warli, for painting it for marriage, they used to paint a bride and bridegroom in the horse. So that should be initiated only by a married woman. So for every motive, there are different persons who should perform at this particular point of time. So the history just goes on and on and on. So once we explore about every art form, we can for sure understand the deeper meaning behind that.
So that's nice. Actually, I'm a great fan of Varli. It's not. I think it's almost 5 years back. I've been exploring that, and actually, I wanted to use Varli as a medium to communicate the ancient scripts like the Tirukural or Ramayana or Patanjali Yoga Sutra. I wanted to put it in a visual form because today's generation, not many people have patience to decode the scriptures. Like for example, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, one line we can talk for a day, we can live for a year also. It has such a deep meaning. I wanted to create a visual form. Varli was my choice. So we wanted to actually commission that work, but I didn't know where to get started, and I was in touch with multiple art students. But I think now now it looks like we have an in-house expert in our community. So maybe we can talk about it. So there's something we can, something like a doodle, like what today people do doodle. I think in the ancient form, that's what I see this Varli as such. So I think we are coming to an end of this session. I think I'm not seeing much question. That means most of the people are like too many information for them. I think they're shocked with the deep information, and I think I could see only appreciations there than questions here. Thank you, Aishwarya. It's like, is there any message or anything that you would like to give some tips and tricks for kids and parents? Because this is a beautiful time, lockdown, whole families in the house, and I think if some people find it more enjoyable, and some of the people are waiting when the pandemic will be over so that all can just go out and be busy in their own world. Um, is there any tips that you would like to share? Like you said, it's best to start with Varli and then graduate to different form of arts. So, any other tips you would like to share?
The turmeric powder or carrots, beetroots. You can make watercolors, or maybe you can mix these colors with rice flour. Put it in any trays or silicone molds. Let it dry. You can use it as a replacement for the chalk also. So you can experiment these different methods and colors. So drawing, I would suggest you to start with stick figures. Yeah, with Varli, you can come up with. Nowadays, people are coming with so many fusions in Varli, so it is definitely easy to start up with. You can explore different coloring forms and the stick figures at present.
Okay, thank you for the detailed presentation. Thanks for your time. I think you've put a lot of hard work. I could see that here. I think it's going to enter a lot of people's mind, and I'm sure this video will come to put it in YouTube later also, and it will be live in the community. This video is going to inspire many people in our community and people who are outside. So somewhere they will see this and they will do it. And many people couldn't join. There was some confusion. I'm getting a private message in mobile like, don't want to miss this session today. I've been waiting. Any interesting comment? I told them, don't worry, it will be live. Only thing is you can't interact in the recorded session. That's all. So thanks for your time, and hopefully we'll have another like a tutorial session or a training with you is what I'm thinking in my mind. Hopefully we'll work on it. Thank you, Aishwarya.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everyone.